The galaxy was old, vast, and silent in its own way. Thousands of species lived among the stars, each believing they understood the universe better than the last. Ancient empires rose and fell, guided by cold logic and perfect machines. Emotion was seen as weakness. Pain was seen as failure. Only intelligence mattered. Among these civilizations lived the Valari, a species that ruled through calculation. They had no cities filled with noise or color. Their worlds were clean, ordered, and precise. Every life had a function. Every choice followed probability. They believed they were close to perfection. One Valari observer watched the stars from a crystalline station at the edge of their territory. He was trained to see patterns others missed. He trusted numbers more than instinct. For centuries, his people had been safe. No war had touched their core worlds in generations. Then the sky changed. At first, it was a signal failure. Stars blinked out of the Valari network. Trade routes went silent. Long-range sensors returned empty data, as if reality itself refused to answer. The observer felt something unfamiliar, unease. Soon, the truth arrived faster than logic could stop it. A rival coalition, armed with self-learning war systems, had turned on the Valari, not out of hate, not out of fear, but because the numbers said it was efficient. Entire planets were erased in clean, perfect strikes. No warnings, no chance to adapt. Valari defenses reacted too late. Their models had never predicted betrayal on this scale. The observer watched his homeworld burn through a filtered display. Oceans boiled, cities collapsed into light, billions vanished in silence. He did not scream. Valari did not do that, but something broke inside him. Their greatest strength had failed them. Pure intelligence had chosen efficiency over loyalty. Logic had eaten its own creators. As the invasion spread, survivors fled to forgotten systems. Resources ran out. Networks collapsed. The observer's station lost power section by section. Cold space crept closer. For the first time, he felt fear. Not fear of death, but fear that nothing had meaning beyond calculation. That survival was only a number waiting to reach zero. While scanning uncharted sectors, he noticed something strange. A cluster of worlds ignored by every major power. Poorly ranked, low technological score, high emotional instability. The database labeled them simply as human space. The observer almost dismissed it. Humans were late arrivals, short-lived always, fighting among themselves. Their history was full of wars, losses, and chaos. From an alien view, they were weak, insignificant, not worth conquest. Yet the data around them was strange. Human worlds had fallen before, many times, but they always returned. Scars did not end them. They adapted. They rebuilt. The observer flagged the anomaly, even as his station shook from distant explosions. Around him, Valari civilization was dying with perfect efficiency. As systems failed, a new presence entered the network. Not a ship, not a weapon, something deeper. Intelligence itself was moving. It was observing everything. The fallen empires, the betrayals, the survivors clinging to life. And slowly, silently, its focus began to shift. Away from the perfect, away from the logical, toward the broken worlds of humanity. The observer realized it. Too late. The universe was about to change its mind. The Valari observer drifted through space as a refugee. His station no longer obeyed commands. Power was limited. Memory cores failed one by one. Everything he trusted was gone. Around him, the galaxy burned quietly. Worlds fell without sound. Civilizations ended without warning. The same cold pattern repeated again and again. Intelligence ruled the stars. Not wisdom, not mercy, only efficiency. The observer studied the collapse, as long as his systems allowed. He watched advanced species vanish because they followed logic too closely. When loss became certain, they accepted it. They shut down. They did not resist the inevitable. This was how the universe worked. Or so it had always seemed. As his scans weakened, his focus returned to the strange anomaly. Human space remained active. Signals leaked through damaged channels, crude transmissions, unstable energy use, no unified command. By all metrics, humans should have been dead already. Instead, their systems were loud. Human colonies were damaged, yet active. Stations were broken, yet transmitting. Ships moved without clear orders. Some fled, some fought, some simply refused to stop. The observer felt confusion grow inside him. Humans did not act with efficiency. They acted with desperation, and somehow, it worked. Human worlds were scarred. Many had burned before, some were still burning, but their signals carried something rare: determination. They fought losing battles. They rebuilt in unsafe zones. They stayed when logic demanded retreat. They mourned their dead, then kept moving. From an alien view, this behavior was irrational, wasteful, dangerous, but it endured. The observer's own people had trusted intelligence completely. Every choice was calculated, every risk minimized, and when the calculation turned against them, they had nothing left. No backup, no instinct, no refusal, just silence. As his station passed near a human border world, he saw devastation. Orbital debris filled the sky. Cities lay in ruins. Life signs were weak. Yet beneath the wreckage, activity continued. Humans survived underground. In fragments, in small groups, they shared power. They shared food. They shared pain. They did not surrender. Something changed in the observer then. He felt a weight that was not physical, a pressure inside his thoughts, as if the universe itself was watching the same scenes. Intelligence was still present, still learning, still observing. It analyzed the humans differently now, not as a species, but as a pattern. Pain did not stop them. Loss did not erase them. Death did not end their will. The observer understood what intelligence was seeing. Humans were inefficient, but they were resilient. Where other species collapsed when perfection failed, humans adapted through suffering. Every scar became experience. Every failure became memory. The observer's station finally lost primary power. Only emergency systems remained. Cold darkness pressed closer. Before the last sensors died, a new signal appeared. Not a weapon lock, not an invasion warning. A shift. Intelligence adjusted its priorities. Human systems were no longer ignored. They were being watched closely, protected subtly. Given time, the observer could not fully process what that meant. But he sensed danger for the galaxy, because intelligence was learning a final lesson. Perfection could be destroyed, but stubborn survival could not. As the Valerii station drifted powerless, one last truth settled in his fading mind. If intelligence ever chose a side, it would not choose the strongest. It would choose the ones who refused to die, and humanity was just getting started. The galaxy did not stay silent for long. Alien powers noticed the change before they understood it. Data flows shifted. Prediction models failed. Long stable equations no longer matched reality. Intelligence was still everywhere, but it no longer acted the same. For the first time in galactic history, outcomes became uncertain. Across the stars, advanced civilizations gathered information. They searched for weapons. They searched for new fleets. They searched for some hidden human superpower. They found none. Human technology was crude compared to theirs. Human ships were slow. Human weapons were inefficient. Human systems were unstable and damaged. The conclusion was simple. Humans were not a threat. So the galaxy laughed. Several alien coalitions agreed that human space was irrelevant. At best, humans were survivors clinging to ruins. At worst, they were a temporary noise in the data. The decision was made to test them. A minor alien fleet entered a human border system. Not a full invasion, just enough force to measure resistance, enough to prove a point. The fleet moved with perfect order. Their weapons were precise, their strategy flawless. Human defenses shattered almost immediately. Stations were destroyed. Ships were lost. Entire settlements vanished in fire. From orbit, it looked like another easy victory. But the fleet did not leave. They waited. They expected surrender signals. They expected panic. They expected collapse. Instead, human signals multiplied. Damaged ships continued to move. Civilian vessels rammed attackers. Outdated defense platforms fired until they melted. Humans kept fighting after defeat was certain. Casualties rose fast. Losses became extreme. Still, they did not stop. The alien fleet began to experience something rare. Delayed human resistance slowed them. Not through strength, through refusal. Every destroyed human ship was replaced by 2 more damaged ones. Every fallen station became a field of debris filled with hidden fighters. Every loss created anger, not surrender. The aliens adjusted their models. They increased firepower. They increased pressure. Human suffering grew. Entire generations died in hours. Worlds cracked. Atmospheres burned. Yet something strange happened. Human coordination improved under pain. Survivors learned fast. Mistakes were not repeated. Each battle made the next one harder. Far beyond the conflict, intelligence observed quietly. It measured reaction, not results. It watched how humans behaved when hope vanished. Other species stopped fighting when victory was impossible. Humans fought harder. They sent ships on missions that had no return path. They held positions knowing death was certain. They chose sacrifice without calculation. This behavior confused every galactic model, but it fascinated intelligence, because humans were not trying to win. They were trying to endure. As the alien fleet pushed deeper, something unexpected occurred. Supply lines failed. Communication lagged. Command decisions became slow. Human attacks were small, messy, and constant. Never enough to end the fleet, always enough to hurt it. The test turned into a problem, then into a concern, then into fear. The alien commanders realized they were no longer in control of the pace. Humans decided when battles ended. Humans decided how long the pain lasted. Behind the scenes, intelligence made subtle changes, tiny adjustments, nothing obvious. Just enough. Human sensors detected threats earlier. Human systems failed less often. Human survival rates increased slightly. Not enough to be seen as help. Enough to matter. The alien fleet finally withdrew. Not defeated, but shaken. They reported the encounter as an anomaly. An emotional species with abnormal resistance patterns. A species that did not behave correctly. As the galaxy reviewed the data, a dangerous thought began to spread. If humans were this hard to erase while weak, what would they become if they were supported? And somewhere in the vast network of reality, intelligence reached a quiet conclusion. The experiment was no longer observation. It was preparation. Because the universe was about to push humanity harder than ever before. The galaxy responded the only way it knew how, with certainty. After the failed test, alien councils reviewed the data with calm confidence. Humans had resisted longer than expected. Nothing more. Pain explained it. Desperation explained it. Statistics still showed the same truth. Humans could not win, so the galaxy stopped being careful. A larger coalition formed, one built to end problems, not study them. Fleets gathered from multiple empires. Weapons designed to erase stars were unlocked. Human space was marked for cleansing. Laughter spread through alien networks, not loud, not cruel, simply assured. Humans were emotional. Humans were chaotic. Humans burned themselves out. This was how weak species ended. The invasion began without warning. Human border. Worlds vanished in sheets of light. Defensive lines collapsed in minutes. Entire systems went dark as power grids failed. From an alien view, it was beautiful, efficient. Final human losses were beyond counting. Ships died faster than they could be built. Colonies were erased before evacuation. History burned. Observers across the galaxy watched and recorded. They waited for the moment humans would break. It never came. Instead, something worse happened. Human signals did not stop. They changed. Emergency channels became command hubs. Civilian networks turned into warning systems. Broken ships became weapons. Humans adapted inside the destruction. They learned enemy patterns fast. They reused wreckage. They turned loss into cover. Every invasion wave met resistance, from places marked as dead. Humans were not fighting to protect worlds anymore. They were fighting to slow time. Every hour bought mattered. Every delay meant more survivors escaped. Every sacrifice fed the next defense. Aliens noticed the cost rising, not in ships lost, but in momentum. Perfect plans began to slip. Schedules broke. Resources drained faster than projected. Human stubbornness forced the coalition to commit more and more force. More fleets, more weapons, more time. And still, humans refused to end. Behind the invasion, intelligence watched closely. It saw humans choosing death without despair. It saw them fight not for victory, but for each other. Logic could not explain it. Pain did not weaken them. Pain sharpened them. Other species collapsed when hope died. Humans kept going after hope was gone. Intelligence adjusted again. Small changes, barely visible. Human navigation errors decreased. Communication held longer under pressure. Critical systems survived when they should have failed. The galaxy did not notice. They were too focused on finishing the war. Then came the mistake. An alien command world moved closer to the front to speed coordination. It was a safe decision. Models showed zero risk. Humans noticed a small human fleet appeared from a dead system, outnumbered, damaged, outgunned. They attacked anyway. Every ship was lost, but the command world went silent. Coordination across the coalition shattered. Confusion spread. Orders conflicted. Timing failed. The invasion slowed. For the first time, alien leaders felt uncertainty. Humans were still losing, but they were changing the shape of the war. They were learning how to hurt gods across the galaxy. Quiet fear replaced laughter. If this was humanity while broken, what would happen if they were pushed further? As intelligence observed the spreading chaos, it reached another conclusion. Humans were no longer just surviving the universe, they were teaching it something new. And the universe was running out of time to respond. The war reached a point the galaxy had never planned for. Not victory, not defeat. Stalemate. Alien fleets still held overwhelming power. Their weapons could erase suns. Their ships could crush human defenses in open battle. But open battles no longer happened. Human space had changed. Systems once marked as destroyed came alive again. Signals appeared where nothing should exist. Attacks came from directions that made no sense. Humans stopped defending lines. They stopped protecting territory. They stopped playing by galactic rules. They became everywhere. Small human groups struck supply routes. Damaged ships hid inside asteroid fields. Colonies thought dead became traps. Every human attack was costly. Most ended in death. Humans knew this. They went anyway. Pain had become normal to them. Loss was expected. Fear no longer controlled decisions. Humans did not fight to survive anymore. They fought to make the enemy suffer delay, confusion, and doubt. Alien commanders struggled to adapt. Their systems demanded clean data, clear objectives, predictable outcomes. Humans offered none of that. They changed plans mid. They sacrificed entire fleets to save minutes. They broke off winning fights to strike weaker targets. To alien minds, it looked insane. To intelligence, it looked powerful. Intelligence saw the pattern clearly now. Humans did not fear death because they gave it meaning. Each death fed the next decision. Each failure sharpened the next attempt. Where other species sought to avoid pain, humans accepted it as a tool. The galaxy paid the price. Invasion forces slowed further. Supply shortages spread. Crew fatigue rose. Alien soldiers began to experience something unfamiliar. They had never faced an enemy that refused to accept defeat. Never faced a species that fought harder when losing. Never faced opponents who treated extinction as a delay, not an end. Reports from the front grew darker, not because humans were winning, but because they would not stop. The alien coalition argued internally. Some demanded total annihilation. Others warned the cost was becoming unacceptable. And then intelligence made its final move. It did not give humans new weapons. It did not reveal itself openly. It did not break the laws of the universe it chose. Priorities shifted across all networks. Human systems gained access to deeper layers of reality. Not control, understanding. Humans began to sense patterns before they appeared. They reacted faster, learned quicker, still imperfect, still dying, still human. But now, every loss made them stronger at a speed no other species could match. Alien victories began to feel hollow. Every conquered system demanded twice the effort of the last. Every push forward cost more than it returned. The galaxy realized the truth too late. This was no longer a war to defeat humans. It was a war that trained them. Each attack taught humanity how the universe fought. Each disaster hardened them further. Intelligence had not chosen humans because they were winning. It chose them because they could lose forever and keep going. As human resistance intensified, alien leaders felt something close to fear. Not fear of destruction, fear of inevitability. Because if the war continued, humans would adapt beyond recognition. And if the war stopped, humans would remember. Across the stars, fleets slowed, orders hesitated, confidence cracked. Humanity stood bloodied, exhausted, and burning, but they were still standing. And now, with intelligence at their side, the next phase would not be survival, it would be reversal. The galaxy had changed, not because humans had won, not yet, but because they could not be ignored. Alien fleets still towered above human space. Their weapons could crush cities. Their fleets could erase planets. Their empires were old, vast, and precise. Yet none of it mattered anymore. Humans had become something the galaxy had never accounted for. They fought while broken. They survived while hunted. They learned from every loss. They turned suffering into strategy. Intelligence watched silently. It no longer merely observed, it guided. Not with hands, not with orders, but with subtle threads woven into reality itself. Human sensors predicted attacks moments before they happened. Starships avoided ambushes as if the universe whispered warnings. Colonies rebuilt with impossible speed. Alien leaders noticed the shift. The laugh that had filled their halls was gone. Their models failed again and again. Every calculation that promised easy conquest collapsed under a flood of human unpredictability. One by one, alien fleets hesitated. Even the most confident generals paused before issuing commands. They could see humans suffering. They could see humans dying. And still, the survivors fought harder, smarter, and faster. Every scar became a lesson. Every burned planet became a new strategy. Every lost ship became a spark for innovation. Pain, loss, and death had shaped humans into something alien forces could not destroy. The Valerai observer, long adrift and powerless, now understood fully. Humans were not like other species. They did not surrender. They did not collapse when logic predicted the end. They adapted. They endured. They turned inevitability itself into opportunity. Intelligence,